Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal, and this is the latest news updates. A lot to get into today. I thought it was going to be a quite international break, but it hasn't been. Apart from this weekend, all the other days I've had a lot of news, and one of the concerns is the injury news. Now, yesterday we talked about Saka and the latest on him, and a lot of people are asking about Martinelli and Gabriel, also the latest on them. Now, we have some reports on that, on all three of them, and this is what Amden had to say. Saka and Martinelli and Gabriel all racing to be fit for Sunday. It will be touch and go for all three of them. Now, that is not 100% accurate in terms of whether they're going to be there or not, but judging from all the other Arsenal outlets and all the other football outlets, piecing that together, I'll be telling you who I expect to make the Man City game and who I don't expect to make the Man City game. So let's start with Saka. So Saka, we've been told that he's been carrying an injury for a very long time, according to Team News and Ticks. But listen, he's not played for 2 weeks, and he usually makes the games, even when he goes off injured, even when he gets knocked down 10, 20 times in a game, he usually ends up making the next game. So that 2 week break, I think, has come at such a good time for Bukayo Saka and the rest of our players in terms of injury, and that allows him to, the 2 week rest really helps him out. He didn't play for England. So for Bukayo Saka, I do expect him to make it for the Man City game. Last time against Man City, he didn't actually play that game. Jesus played on the right side, and it worked out for us. We ended up winning that game. But Saka is a crucial player to have in such a game. Like, you literally have to have him in a game like that. You don't want to go into April not having Bukayo Saka. And listen, I wish you'd have been playing like Luton first and then Man City after that. Then maybe rest a few of those other players again just before the Man City game. Maybe give it another 1 week. Actually, these days I wouldn't even have minded if the international break was 3 weeks, just to allow the players to keep on resting, bring back some more players, give Timber more time to recover, give Partey and Tomiyasu more time to recover. I wouldn't even have minded if the international break was like 3 weeks, but it's only 2 weeks, and we are now how many days away? Around 4 days or 5 days away until we face Man City, so there's not too much time. But I'm hoping that the 2 week break will have helped. Saka has not yet been in training at all. So remember, we didn't also play in the last weekend. So the last game that Bukayo Saka played in was against FC Porto on that Tuesday. So he's rested for how many days? Up to now, I think it's around 2 weeks exactly. Like at the time of recording, I think it's now 14 days. And if you count up until like Friday, he'll have rested for like 17 days. So that's good. And I think he will probably make it. If I was to give it a percentage, I'd say 85% Saka makes that Man City game, which will be a bonus for us. But what about Gabriel? We've been talking about him being one of the most underrated defenders in the league. We've had Nketiah saying it during the international break. Nelson has said it. Leah Williamson, the captain of the women's team, has said that Gabriel is the most underrated player defending the Premier League. And most of us have said it as well, how good he is. Saliba has been very good. He has gotten his credit. Gabriel has been very good. I don't think he's gotten maximum credit at all. I still hear Brazil fans actually, celebrating that Gabriel is not going there. Like, they're like, oh, yeah, they're better defenders. Gabriel, not good enough. So people still don't rate him that highly. So he still has a lot to prove, but for us, we know how good he is, and in a game like this, we know how important Gabriel would be. Like, if you don't have him there, it's bad. It's terrible. If you don't have Gabriel to pick for that game, it's terrible. Now, we can argue that we are lucky that Timber is back, or he could be back. I'm not starting, though. I think he's still like 2 weeks away. But Tomiyasu is back. So you can argue plays Zinchenko, Ben White, Saliba, and Kivior at centre back. But the moment you do that, you've broken whatever has been working, and you're bringing back Zinchenko at left back for a tough away game, which we've been saying is not that great in terms of defending against those big teams away from home. Not the ideal player to go for at left back up against, I don't know, Foden or someone. And then Kivior as well, you're moving him from left back, where he's been really good, back to centre back. And then you're changing that partnership. Saliba and Kivior have not played together for a long time. Have they even played together? I don't think so. Like last season, it was Gabriel and Kivior playing together after Saliba got injured and Holding was removed from the team. So Saliba and Kivior have not really seen that partnership. So you don't want that to be the one up against Haaland. The last time we played Haaland with Gabriel and Saliba, we kept him to 0 shots. So that is what we want to see, both Gabriel and Saliba. Now, Gabriel picked up that knock against FC Porto, just like Saka has been able to rest for 14 days so far. by the time we play that weekend against Man City, I've rested for like 17 days before getting back to training. So I think that is beneficial for us. I also do think Gabriel will make it. I'd give him a 70% chance of making that game, and it will be huge for us. If he makes that game, big for us, because then you can have whichever you want. Tomiyasu Kivi at left back, and then you have Gabriel, Saliba, and Ben White, and whoever starts at left back, depending on how much work they have to deal with in that game, you can afford to tell Ben White, listen, you've done 60 minutes great up against Doku, maybe on a yellow card, we can now sub you off and bring Tomiyasu on. Or you can say to Kivio, listen, you've done your job up against Foden, you're on a yellow card, maybe you're getting a little bit tired and they're ready to bring in more players like Bernardo Silva or someone from the bench, bring in Tomiyasu at left back. That can benefit us a lot. But the moment you don't have Gabriel, all of a sudden you also don't really have enough bench players, especially if Timber also doesn't make it in time for this game, which I don't really expect him to. So I'd give Gabriel a 70% chance of making it. What about Martinelli? That is the biggest concern. He hasn't played, I think, by the time we get to when he got injured, I think on 4th of March when he played Sheffield United. So close to 28 days, close to 4 weeks since Martinelli got injured. Again, the international break has been very good for us because Martinelli is not yet back in training. If we didn't have that international break, it means Martinelli would have missed the game against Man City. He would have missed the game against Luton, which is midweek, 3-4 days after we played Man City. He would also have missed the game against Brighton that weekend, and potentially missed Bayern Munich as well and Aston Villa. So that would have been a calamity. So I'm actually really happy that the international break came up to allow players like Martinelli to recover. Will he recover in time to play this game? In terms of Martinelli recovering enough to start this game, I'd give it maybe a 30% chance. I wish he makes it. I'd be very happy because he adds the pace and he adds something different. He scored a winning goal against Man City last time, and he usually pops up in the big games. He scored several times against Liverpool and assisted. He scored against Man City, the winner last time, so he pops up in the big games. You need him in that game, whether it's starting off the bench, something different. I think he came off the bench against Man City the first time, and he scored the winning goal that day. So he needs something different with Martinelli in the team. He gets something different that I don't think too many people can offer, especially if you don't have both Saka and Martinelli on the pitch. That becomes a disaster because you don't have the pace, you don't have the proper wing you can take on players. You don't really have that trust that plays differently. Nelson can, but really be trusted in a game like this to start, I really doubt. And even if you're to ask the Man City defenders, they won't tell you. But if you ask them, okay, Saka is playing, they'll be like, oh, we have something to do here. But if you tell them Saka is not there, Nelson is the one who's playing, they will like, that's fine. That's totally fine. That's the truth. That is how they'll react to that. So we definitely need Martinelli. Now, in terms of him starting this game, I only give him a 30% chance. In terms of him making the game in general, whether it's on the bench or starting, I'd say 50-50, honestly. I'd say 50% chance because we haven't heard anything about him recovering. What we've heard from reports is that he's not gone through like surgery or anything like that. He was stepped on. He had a gash on his foot. I don't even know how it happened. I saw how he was stepped on, but he actually wasn't like stepped on. Like his foot was not on the ground and then he was stepped on. Like his foot was somewhere in the air like this, and then the guy like stepped on him. I don't know how it went like past the shoe and everything and put a gash on his foot. That is crazy. We haven't seen any pictures or anything like that. But it's kept him out for 4 weeks. So it's been a serious injury that has meant he's missed the international football. He's missed the game against Brentford. He's missed the game against FC Porto as well. And if he was fit, he'd definitely have played that FC Porto game because that was a big game for us. So it's going to be a miss if he doesn't make it, but for now I'm going to give it a 50% chance. I think by Thursday we'll have a better answer in terms of whether these three players will make it. But for Saka, I'm confident he'll make it. Gabriel, slightly confident he'll make it. For Martinelli, I'm just completely unsure if he's going to make it or not. If you end up missing one player, two players in this game, obviously you don't want those players to be Declan Rice or Saliba or players like those. No, those ones have to be there. The Gabriel, Saliba, and Rice, those ones have to be there. Like the moment you take them out, it's completely different. Now, we still trust the likes of Partey and those guys coming off the bench, but you obviously, Rice, you want the players who've been playing regularly to continue playing, especially in a game like this. So we missed Saka last time. If you miss him, it takes away a lot from you, but you can argue play Jesus there, and then you hope Jesus plays the same way he did against Man City last time. If Martinelli is not there, the others are there, you can argue play Trossard like he did against FC Porto. He's capable of scoring, he's capable of assisting, and then you hope he has a good game there. Because I remember last season in the FA Cup, Trossard was probably our best player in that game. When he lost 1-0 to Man City in that match, he could easily have scored in that game. And I think that was like 2 weeks after he signed for us or something. He was really, really good. So if it's one player, maybe you can survive. But ideally, you want everyone to be fit. If everyone is fit, then you look at your bench and you have Jesus, you have Trossard, you have Zinchenko, you have potentially Tomiyasu or Kivio, whoever is starting, whoever's on the bench. You have Partey, Jorginho. All of a sudden, the squad looks good. And Rice could be starting and Jorginho could be starting in midfield. That means someone else in that midfield will be on the bench, like a Smith Rowe or Fabio Vieira, both of them, whichever way it is going to approach this game. So hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed that all three of them make it for this game. I'm confident 2 of them will make it. The other one, I am not sure. So that's the list in terms of injury updates. For Man City, Akanji played 1 game for them. He's back now. I think they said he has a knock. Walker went off in the England game because of an injury. We don't know how much of those were serious or they're just precautionary, like the way we did with Saka. They just were wanting to rest them for the Arsenal game. De Bruyne did not play international games as well. So Haaland was subbed off earlier than Odegaard in the Norway game that I watched. So all that. So most of their players will be there, the likes of Foden and Bernardo Silva. So you want your squad to be full as well. Let's get into some transfer news. Let's start with Gyökeres. There's been a bit of news on him as well from Alex Cook. Arsenal have made signing a new number 9 their top priority and are showing a strong interest in Victor Gyökeres. It is believed Gyökeres is now ahead of Ivan Toney on the Gunners' shopping list after excelling in Portugal this season. He's been incredible, man. Like getting, I think it's 36 goals and 14 assists, and in March. There's still 2 months of the season to go. It's crazy, and they're still in the Europa League, and let's say get 5-6 more goals in the league and 2 more goals in there. He could easily get to 60 goal contributions. In terms of the whole Europe, is ahead of everyone else. Kane, Mbappe, and everyone else in terms of goal contributions. Haaland, Salah is number 1. Now you can argue that he's in Portugal, but he's also kind of done it in the Championship with Coventry. But obviously the Premier League is different news. But he still would be the one that I go for. Him being in term ahead of Toney. Listen, there was a lot of stuff said about Toney. Team News and Ticks did say the Arsenal like hierarchy and stuff, maybe at 10 they do and all that. They don't really like Ivan Toney's attitude, and the team that we've built right now, everyone is perfect for the project, and everyone has understood everything that is going on, and we know what we need. No one has an ego, all that. So they don't really want to add Ivan Toney to that. And in terms of that, I do agree. Don't want anyone who's going to unstabilize the team or anything like that. So in terms of holding up the ball and headers and all that, Toney is the answer. But for me, as I said, top 3 strikers, if you were to ask me to choose, Toney would not be in my top 3. Watkins would be, Gyökeres would be, and someone else, maybe an Osimhen would be there as well. So I'd have 3 strikers ahead of Ivan Toney, also because of money. If Toney was like 50, 55, 60 million, I'd be like, yeah, get him. Gyökeres will be expensive, but Toney is, said to be like more expensive than Gyökeres, which I don't really, I'm not really happy with that in terms of going for him for that kind of money. So Gyökeres, we are definitely going to get a number 9. It's going to be very exciting to see who you're going to get, because Jesus was the last number 9 we got. We don't really sign strikers a lot. If you look at over the last maybe 10 years, we've signed Aubameyang, Lacazette, and recently Jesus. Is there any other striker that we've really signed? I don't think so. Maybe backups or stuff, but starting strikers. Remember the feeling we had when you signed Aubameyang and Lacazette, even Jesus, different kind of feeling. So let's see how that works out. I don't think we find any striker if we sign not like really a starter. But hey, Gyökeres would be really, really exciting. We are definitely going to be looking at a striker. Let's see who we end up with. We're also looking at defenders. Yesterday we talked about some defenders that you're linked to from Girona, Real Madrid, and all that. So today we are back to Murillo again, the Nottingham Forest defender. According to Give Me Sport, Arsenal are interested in signing Nottingham Forest defender Murillo. Forest valued the 21-year-old at around 50 million. They could be forced into a sale due to their financial situation, but are unlikely to budge on their valuation. So 50 million for Murillo. They're not going to go down from that, but they have a bad financial situation, so maybe you'd have to, just play the hard game against them and tell them, listen, we don't have to buy him. You're the ones who need to sell him. 35 million, 30 million, or we don't get him. In terms of age bracket, as I said when I talked first about Murillo, he fits into the age bracket. He also now has one season Premier League experience. I don't think he was here last season, but yes, he has the Premier League experience on this season, and he wouldn't really be a starter for us. That is really a backup. So that's why I'm looking at that price for a backup. I'm like, another 50 million on a defender, I wouldn't do it. We'll have, after Cedric leaves, we'll have 7 defenders. Personally, I would keep everyone: Zinchenko, Timber, Tomiyasu, Kivio, Saliba, Ben White, Gabriel. Keep all 7 of them. If everyone stays fit, there's a way you can rotate. You can have Tomiyasu, White, you can have Zinchenko, Kivio, or Timber, you can have Gabriel or Kivio, you can have Timber or Saliba or Ben White. There's a way you can rotate. Hopefully everyone stays fit. If you want an 8th defender, a backup, 15 million, 20 million for a backup, not the end of the world. We signed Gabriel for 20-something million. We signed Tomiyasu for, is it 20 million as well, something like that. We can get cheap players. I know the likes of Ben White and Zinchenko are like 50 million and stuff, but those were starters. Right now, we're not really looking for a starting defender. So Murillo is one that is linked to Arsenal. He's not the only one. You're linked to another defender, this time from Frankfurt. He plays for, I think that's Ecuador. Rather than splashing out on a world-class level defender, Arsenal are hoping to bring in someone of the valuation of Murillo. Arsenal have also been linked with Frankfurt defender William Pacho, who is likely to cost a similar amount. I don't know if that's Ecuador or Colombia. I think it's Ecuador. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. I think that's Ecuador, though. Yeah, William Pacho, we are linked to the Frankfurt defender. I think it's Ecuador. I think that's the flag is not clear, but I think that's Ecuador. From the Jazzy, I think it's Ecuador. So we are linked to another defender, Pacho, Frankfurt, but they're saying he would be the same money as Murillo, so around 50 million, which I still feel like it's very expensive. The only way that could happen is if we sell someone like a Zinchenko or a Kivio ends up leaving, and then we need a backup for Gabriel or Saliba, which I don't really think we need. Those players have signed contracts recently. Ben White, Tomiyasu, Timber signed for us recently. Saliba signed a new contract recently. So things are looking good in terms of them staying. And personally, I would keep Zinchenko. I wouldn't get rid of anyone in that defense. So if we have to get a defender, I'd wait until the end of the transfer window after we've gotten a striker and a wing and maybe a midfield. And then if you have spare change, or you can get a loan deal or a free transfer, then you can go for a defender. Speaking of defenders, Deschamps doesn't really like Saliba over at France. So this is what Deschamps had to say about Saliba and the France situation and why he doesn't play. He is having a good season, but he also does things that I don't like so much. So for France, he has limited game time, but when he plays, that hasn't necessarily gone well. The hierarchy doesn't favor him at the moment, but he is here. Upamecano has had game time, and perhaps William has had less. With certain players, I make sure to persevere, because it can be confidence or little blockages that can shift. So some things he doesn't like about Saliba, apparently. Listen, if you prefer Upamecano to Saliba, well done. Bring Saliba back to Arsenal. If you don't like him, bring him back to Arsenal. We will use him. If he doesn't have to play those two games, we are happy. If he doesn't have to play in the international break, we are good with that. Listen, you can play Pavard and Upamecano at centre back and lose 2-0 to Germany. That is absolutely fine. They are playing today, though. I think they're playing Chile today, and Saliba is going to start from what I've heard. So let's see how it does. Let's see what Deschamps is talking about in terms of not what he doesn't like about Saliba. If he plays today and ends up making 2 mistakes or something, I'll be like, okay, maybe he was right. But for me, I think he's talking absolute nonsense, because the centre-back partnership for them should be Saliba and Konate, but he's playing Upamecano and Pavard there, and Upamecano have watched him several times for Bayern Munich this season. There's a time in 1 week he got 2 red cards in back-to-back games in the Champions League and in the league. Listen, we are going to play them. We're going to see who is better. We're going to play them very, very soon. It's going to be very interesting. But yeah, I think he will play today, but it does benefit us, if they don't want to play Saliba, if this one doesn't want to play Ben White, we are totally fine, because that means they get enough rest to come back and play for Arsenal. We absolutely love all of them. So let me know what you make about all that. Saliba situation, YARS, who would be your top 3 strikers you'd try and get? Which your top 3 strikers in terms of your list? And also let me know how concerned you are about Martinelli, Saka, Gabriel. Which 2 of them do you really want to make this game? If one of them is missing, who would you prefer it to be? Obviously, you want all 3 of them to make it. But thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow.